Hi everyone, today I thought I would share all my tips and tricks on how to become a pro builder and adopt me. I will be sharing my personal tips that I always use. But if you have any tips of your own, feel free to comment them. I would also love to hear what has helped you guys when building too. Unfortunately, building does cost a lot of bucks and it can get really expensive. So I always suggest saving up a lot before you start to build each time. I already have a video on how to make a lot of bucks. So if you want to know, check out that video as well. I will link it in the description. Now let's start with the tips. Tip number 1 is knowing your placement grid size. This is really important when building because the placement grid size helps you move things around more smoothly. Right now, it's set on the large placement, but we also have medium and small. Let me show you how you can use it. Let's just go to stuff and get a normal sofa. So right now, it's set too large, and when you move, the sofa, as you can see, it hops a few when you move it. But when you set it to medium, which is my personal favorite, it's more smoothly when you're moving it. And finally, the small grid size. This one makes it super smooth. This can be useful if you're trying to place something really tight together, or if you need to scale it to the side perfectly. This works the exact same for the advanced move and rotating. I use advanced movement all the time when I build. It allows you to move everything the exact way you want it, and it's the same for the advanced rotate. Tip number 2 is to turn on multicoloring in settings. So how to be able to color everything on a furniture. So click on main, then on gameplay, then scroll down until you see multi-coloring. This button should always be on if you want to be able to color everything, because with this turned off, you will only be able to color one part of the item. And here you can color the whole sofa. It for sure was a game changer when multicoloring was added, because before we didn't have it. Tip number 3 is to start off with a clean base and make your own walls and floors. If I don't make a glitch build, I always color all the walls and floors white before I start building. It's just a good way of starting. You should also always delete everything that comes with the house when you first buy it. And to color the walls and floors white, just go to walls and floors and find the white wallpaper. And when I build, I never really like the wallpapers and floors that we already have. So I always use wall panels for the walls. But here we have some shape options. You can have bricks, glass, plain, stone, and wood. I usually go for plain on the walls, but it depends what type of build I'm doing, cause the stone is really pretty for walls too. To do the walls, just size them down so they are not too big, and then place them against the wall and color it. And now to cover the whole wall, you can just clone the one you already have, and then use the advanced movement to move it. This will save you time so you don't need to go back to the walls and do the whole thing over again. And there we go. Now we have a colored wall. Now, when you have done all the walls, it's time for the floor. I usually go for the wood ones, but you can do whatever floor you want. For the floor, I always push it down in the ground, just so it's not too thick. And then I use the advanced movement to move it where I want it. I also clone it again in between moving it around, just like we did with the walls. And now we have a floor too. My 4th tip is cloning. Cloning is super helpful if you need to get another piece of a furniture in the exact same color or size. I will show you how I normally use it. So let's just first get a random bed and color it. Now, if you don't want to do this all over again, Then click on the bed, then on the toolbox, and then click clone. And now you have two beds in the exact same color. You can either have them like this or put them together and make a double bed. Also use the advanced movement to move the beds together to make them line up perfect. I personally think double beds looks the best in builds. Now, let's say you want to clone an entire wall with the beds as well. Then click on the box next to the undo button and select the furniture and wall you want cloned, and then press the clone button. Then you can just rotate it's the way you want it. You might have to clone the walls again if they are not coming with the rest of the furnitures. And now you know how to clone. Tip number 5 is to use candles for lighting. This is of course something that is up to everyone, but the candles gives a very soft light to your builds, cause I personally almost always use the candles for the lights in my builds, and you can color them whatever color you want the light to be. This medieval candle also works. The magical candles are also really good to use because they give of a soft lighting. I also really like to use this candle chandelier a lot for my builds. I had this one a lot in my Queensland house. Just look how simple but pretty this looks. You can also hide the candles inside furniture if you don't want anyone to see them, because they will still give the light. Tip number 6 is to include a lot of details and clutter into your builds. If you want to learn how to start trading your builds for good offers, you have to learn how to create nice looking builds that will make people want to give good pets for it. With that I mean make builds that has a lot of details and that based of a theme that most people are looking for right now. But you can include things like plants, paintings, rugs, shelves, seats, tables, mirrors, and so much more. Just be creative with them. But if you really don't know what to add, just think about real life and what type of furnitures and everything there is. I'm sure you will get a lot of good ideas. Another thing I know a lot of other builders is using is Pinterest. There are so many good-looking houses and everything you can take inspiration from there. Tip number 7 is to create your own furnitures and other items. Basically, you can use things like discs, cylinders, walls, floors, bricks, and other things to make your own furnitures. It will look a lot better than using the furnitures we already have in game. Like this makeup desk, for example, I made out of sized down walls and cylinders. But I get that it's not the easiest to make your own furnitures. That's why it's good that there are a lot of tutorials on TikTok and here on YouTube to help you out. But remember, it's always best to come up with your own ideas, so your builds are unique to you, because making up your own furnitures and other items will make your build look more well-made and put together. There is a lot of items Adopt Me does not have as well, so that's why I love custom furnitures. Number 8. Speed builds and tutorials. If you are 100% beginner and starting from zero, I always recommend watching and learning from speed builds if you are really new to building, because speed builds and tutorials are really good to start with. But with this I don't mean copy builds, cause I personally don't support that at all. But if you're starting from zero, it's just good for practice. But always credit the original creator if you use speed builds. But after practice, I always suggest to find your own style and create builds that are unique to you. Because when you do find your own style, building becomes a lot more easier and a lot more fun because you're making it unique to you. Number 9 is to be patient and practice. Try to practice building as much as you can. You have to get to know how to use items and what to look up for items, and this does take time. But don't forget, everyone starts somewhere. So don't give up if it's difficult at first, because eventually it will get easier and you get faster at building too. Anyway, those were all the tips and tricks I have for you guys. Let me know if you want a part 2 of this as well by liking the video, because I do have some more tips as well. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to join my Roblox group that is in the description. I really hope all these tips were helpful to you. See you later, bye.